And 7 years were up before he knew it. And he said, payday. There's going to be a wedding here. Now, we have to also understand that when a wedding took place, the bride-to-be was completely veiled. Now, I listened to the text again today, and I'm not quite sure whether Rachel was in on the original ceremony or not. It left it a little bit open to question. But we do know that by the time the ceremony and the celebrating was over, that Laban had pulled Leah, the older daughter, in and said, it is your time to go in there and become Laban's wife. Now, it was dark. Everybody was covered up, veiled, whatever. And in the morning, he found out, and let us say he was not a happy camper. He had been deceived. How do you feel? You've been lied to. How do you feel when you've been manipulated? How do you feel when you enter into something and you discover it's not what it was cracked up to be? We see this in all parts of our culture, don't we? The law just changed on credit cards. Now they have to be more disclosing. I hope that they stick to that. But we know it doesn't feel good, does it? To be cheated. I've said at the Breakfast Club fellowship afterwards one time, I said, one Sunday we're going to all stand and sing Your Cheating Heart. I remember we were teaching in Berlin School, Catherine and I, in Vermont, and we had an ed tech there on, used to every morning would start the kids with songs in her guitar, and she taught the entire 2nd grade to sing Your Cheating Heart. I have never forgotten that song since that time. I'm sure that Laban felt that he had pulled one over on Jacob, and Jacob felt like he had been cheated and he was angry. Laban's words meant nothing in the deal. Isn't it amazing how people can just promise stuff and then it means nothing? That's not fun. And while the story has some amusement to it, and it all works out in the end, sort of, the feelings of being lied to and people not standing with their words come home to us in the 21st century. So Laban went in and was having his breakfast, and Jacob comes in, pointing the finger, you lied to me. And he says, well, you don't understand. We don't give the younger daughter first. In our island, this is how we do it. This is the island way. This is the way of our country. We'll do it our way. So you have to work another 7 years to get Rachel. And Jacob said, she's worth it. They had a 1-week honeymoon, Leah and Jacob. Wasn't that fun? And following the 1-week honeymoon, Laban then gives her Rachel. This sounds more like a soap opera, doesn't it, than it does a story from the Bible? That's why I love to preach the Bible, because there's stories in it that will just amaze you. So now, and I never heard a fundamentalist preach on this, by the way, he has 2 wives. Talk about focus on the family. I'd love to see what James Dobson does with something like this. 2 wives. Leah and Rachel. But Jacob loved Rachel. The rest of the book of Genesis talks about how this confusion works out within the family. But what strikes me this morning are Wendell Berry's words of how words have become more and more meaningless in the last 150 years in our country and in our civilization. Jesus said, when you say yes, mean yes. When you say no, mean no. A sign of a dysfunctional system, whether it's a family or a government or any institution, is the notion of mixed messages. People saying the right thing but not meaning it in their hearts, or not willing to fulfill the promise. I think this morning there's no greater frustration than to have been lied to and cheated on. And so the words of Jesus come to my mind: to treat others the way you want to be treated. I'm encouraging us this morning to look at our words, to look at what we're saying, and ask if we are going to keep our words. Which means that we need to be a little more reflective before we impulsively promise things. And we need to stick by our words. The consequences of a society that doesn't keep its promises leads to the disintegration of society. How many times do we hear people stand up in public, particularly after they've been caught? Politicians or anyone, preachers, doesn't matter. They say, oh, I'm so sorry. The truth is, they're sorry they got caught. There's a part of human nature that likes to get away with things. But in the end, like with Jacob, confronting Laban, the truth comes out. The truth is a priceless thing. The book of Proverbs says, buy the truth and sell it not. It's important to keep our character. It's important to keep the truth. It's important to be honest and to teach our children to be honest. And it's costly. It's not easy. Jesus taught us to tell the truth. St. Paul said, speak truth with love. Buy the truth, sell it not. Let us not sell out for a quick, instant gratification. Well, it was too hard. If we make a mistake with this, and we all do, I have said things that I couldn't promise and keep, I'm glad that there's grace and we can pick up again and start over. I'm just saying, let's take our words seriously this morning. And in all our dealings, remember the book of Proverbs says that a good name is better than riches. I want a good name when I die. I want someone to be able to look and say, he was an honest person. I may not be wealthy, and I'm not, but that I was honest and truthful and had character. Character counts. I hope you remember this story. And the next time you might want to play a little loose with the truth, I hope something just clicks a little. And when we do this, let's teach our children too.